Alright, we're going to create a new project, but you need to go to source code if you're in a project and do Visual Studios 2019 if that's the one you're using. Using 2017, use 2017. It does not, after 4.22, support 2015. It does support 2017 and 2019. But you can do something to get 2015 on it if you would want to do that. To configure Unreal 4.20 to generate Visual Studio's 2015 solution project files, and there's the information all right here, and it says using GitHub would be preferable to Perforce, but Unreal uses both of these. Perforce is like GitHub on steroids, if you know what that is. Anyways, what I'm going to be working with today is, I believe it's called an IDE. Yeah, IDE. Visual Studios, source code IDE, Visual Studios, source code IDE, Dev C++. The C++ IDE for Dev, which is a great program. Now, Visual Studios is better. It is better. But, on occasion, you will have these things that'll nitpick, where you're like, well, you can have a tool. You know? These tools, I'll give the link in the description below as well. This tool helps you in Visual Studios, and basically, I'm just going to put it in my C++ applications. That's one I was working on outside of Unreal. Yeah, I do that C++ builder stuff. These tools, driver update? I don't want a driver update. Can help you in Visual Studios as well. And while you might have errors like this one, for instance, it says the command C++ file epic, it's basically saying it's not there. Okay, but if you go here and you cover this, okay, and you go to properties, and we look to our right, what we find is the exact same location is there. There's 3 locations actually, but all 3 of them are there. And so it's false to some degree that that's not there, but somebody answered this question in case you wanted it or not. It doesn't have to, it doesn't really affect anything. As you see, I can just go to Unreal and I can basically hit this compile button, even though I have errors. And it compiled. Alright, so if you do get the MSB 3073 error, it'll send you over to the Microsoft forums for C++, and you'll see the first one, the 3073 error with a npm run build exited with code 9009. And this is really particular because Microsoft builds Visual Studios for all kinds of things, right? But when this man answers a question, he says, error often means that the npm exit cannot be found. Please download the npm tool and add installation path variables. And this is interesting because when you look at the npm tool, it's a Unreal tool. This one isn't an Unreal tool, but if you go back to the programmer's guide, what we can get is some tools. We have tools. Second. Programming tools. Forgot which one to go to. I'll get back to that later, but Unreal has its own little tools for downloading. Now, that's not even, I just compiled it. That's not even necessary. But what is necessary is knowing that when you start doing don't save. It's already been saved. Alright. When you start messing with Shucks CPP and Shucks.h, something I built, this is outside of the tutorial, and you start doing some code, you'll get all these errors that are meaningless, because if I do file, save all, and then compile, it compiles. Okay? And I've already done that, so we might as well move on. Now, on occasion, and this is the important part, it doesn't compile. And you won't know why it doesn't compile. Like, for instance, if I go in here and I shucks generator.h, genuinely this has to be the last one, right? Shucks generated.h has to be the last one. If I backspace, I do a file, save all, it's not going to compile. Now, that makes sense. That makes sense. If it compiles, then it's broken. Okay, good. So it's not going to compile. It should be telling me why. It's not telling me why. Now, if I re-put in, this is important, Shucks generator.h, right there. It's right there, has the location, directories, and everything. I put that in. On occasion, what we find is I press compile. It might not actually compile. If it does compile, I'm going to be surprised and I'm going to apologize. It compiled. Okay, so that's how you know if your Visual Studios is working, is if you can type in the same code and delete it and it doesn't compile, you understand why it's broken. It said that generate body was a problem. It's not a problem. And look, even it's got classes for it and everything, and that's a good thing. But now it's not a problem. After you play with it a little bit, it might not be a problem. But if you do get into that frustrating, and I know that I'm taking a long time on this, I'm not trying to. If you do get into that frustrating moment where you're like, why isn't Unreal compiling? It is not Unreal. Alright? It is Visual Studios. 9 times out of 10. if you're writing the code right, because this doesn't come here, and that if you're writing the code right, it's not an Unreal issue. It might be a Visual Studios issue. It might be the fact that you have the wrong Visual Studios. Like if you got 4.23 and later you want to have VS 2017, VS 2019, that could be it. It could be the fact that you didn't change your editor preferences to 2019. There's all kinds of reasons why it could be breaking. But what I know for a fact is it's working if you can see it. It's working if it compiles. Now, generally what I do is, since I've saved it already, all these are saved. Okay. Sometimes, if you don't save it, it might break as well. Sometimes if you do save it, it might break. And it compiled. So that one didn't break, and I'm actually relieved, because if you noticed how many projects I've made, Basic Code 9, Basic Code A10, Basic Code A11, just because some of my Visual Studio stuff would compile, but if I deleted something and added the exact same code, it would break. Oh, okay, and it's also important to have that pawn or actor generated H at the end of Visual Studios. So what we're going to do now is create a new project, and we're going to play with Visual Studios, but we're actually going to play with other IDEs as well, because if you want to, well, you want the ability to program without, not necessarily, in Visual Studios is great, but not necessarily relying only on Visual Studios. What if you miss a payment? What if your card bounces? And that's going to be annoying. You're going to want something temporary to use while you're coding, especially if you're doing your own thing. So, it's C++. It's going to be C++ regardless. Definitions are going to be different. Code's going to be the same. Looking for that code, Visual Studios is great at doing that. Not lying. It is great. It's just nice to have alternatives, because you got to pay for Visual Studios. And again, I recommend picking up LinkedIn. LinkedIn gives you a free full month's tutorial to learn C++. So right now we're going to go and start a new project. I'm going to just go with my project 3, if that's okay. And basically, there's all kinds of programmers' guides. It's all there. Like, everybody's like, where's the C++ stuff? It's in the programmers' guides. It's in LinkedIn, full free months. There's coding. There's this thing called REPL-Lit, which I think the L is silent in the acronym, but REPIT is really nice because you can test code on it. This is, I believe this is 11 still, but it says 17, so I could just be wrong. That's Clang. Alright, so yeah, no, that's C++. Alright, yeah, sorry. But you can do testing with REPIT. This is the one that we're going to be using. Go ahead and download that. We're also going to be using Visual Studios. Don't recommend using them at the same time. Visual Studios is automatically should open if your Unreal is opening. Alright? Cool. Editor preferences open. I mean, that's fine. It's gonna act up a little bit. That's fine. Move this over to the left. View options. Show C++ classes. Show engine content. what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to C++ classes. We have none. It's fine. And we're going to get, it's two folders. One's going to be public and one's going to be private, regardless of which one we put the pawn or actor in. Me personally, if we're doing a tutorial on an actor, we might as well do it on a pawn, because a pawn is an actor. Might as well do it on a pawn. You can do anything you do with a pawn, you could do with an actor. I'm not saying that you should make all your actors pawns, because obviously if you don't need to possess it, it doesn't need to be a pawn. I'm just saying that if we're doing the tutorial on actors, we might as well do it on pawns. I'm going to add a C++ class. It's going to be a pawn. Next, I'm going to name it whatever I want to name it. Some people go with my first class, blah, blah, blah. We're going to continue this all the way out. I'm going to hit public. And because I'm going off the programmer's guide, I am going off the everything that I'm teaching you right now. Today you can learn off of all those files I showed you, API files, all that stuff in the programmer's guide from Unreal in the Unreal docs. That's Unreal C++. I don't know what to say. It is what it is. But some people prefer visual tutorials instead, and I get that. And they have visual tutorials. It's just, it's not, I guess it's not that popular or whatnot. I don't know. So that's why I'm doing it. I wasn't able to find it as much, but it's interesting. Programmers will be baffled. Where's all the blueprint stuff? And it's like, there's a whole bunch of YouTube content. And then all the blueprint programmers, visual programmers, which I was and am, will say, where's all the C++ content? The C++ content's all on paper, and all the blueprint visual coding is all on video, which makes sense because visual code needs to be seen, whereas it makes sense that most of the code that is out there that you type is on paper, because you can copy and paste the code. Now, I'm going to be typing a lot instead of copying and pasting, and I think that helps to some degree make you a better programmer, because instead of copying and pasting, you're memorizing, you know, code. Well, the name's going to be Grub. I don't know why, I'm just making a name. That's my pawn, it's a grub. What's it do? I don't care. It's a grub. Alright. I'm going to exit the Visual Studios. I'm going to have it, it's going to reload the Visual Studios, so that was kind of pointless, but bam! Compiled. And this is grub.h. Alright? And it's already came with 11 errors. It's already came with 11 errors, and I just started programming. If I exit right now, I know it has 11 errors, and I compile. It compiles. 11 errors. It compiles. But I guarantee if you search through all those errors, like, so obviously Visual Studios is saying it has errors. Unreal is saying, no, you're wrong, it doesn't have errors. And so if it works in Unreal, then there's no reason not to use the code. So my recommendation is, if Visual Studios is being problematic with Unreal, the code in Unreal is going to be more correct. than Visual Studios. It's not because Microsoft is bad. It's because Microsoft is not reading probably all the H's and is missing a couple things. Alright? You know, it's not because they're bad. I mean, Visual Studios is fantastic, and I could, but I wouldn't, you know, build something like that. It's the length of time it must have took to build probably wasn't that long, to be honest, but I still wouldn't, because it's already there, you know. Alright, so now what we're going to do is I have a folder for the thing I told you to download earlier, which was Dev C++. Dev C++ is free. It will always be free, and there's no trial. Alright, which is important. That file that I had already downloaded, I think I already explained that. Don't need that anymore because I'm using Dev C++, which is more basic than Visual Studios. So if I go to folders and I have a folder called C++ applications. Okay, that's not where it would be then. C++ guide, Dev C++ program. Where's it at? Downloads. It's set up. I might have to execute it again, which is gonna suck because I don't know. It's wasted space basically. I don't like wasting space. I'm gonna execute it again. I don't want to waste time, so. Alright. Dev C++. Execute. Might as well show you how to use it. Yes. Error writing temporary file. Make sure temp folder is valid. Execute. You might have to do it twice. Unpacking data. Now it's going to tell me where it's at. Say English. License, I agree. Things I want to make, remove old configuration files because I have old configuration files. And it's in program files x86. So, I know where to go. I'm exiting. Are you sure you want? Yes. So that means I'm going to go to this PC. Close. C, program files x86, dev, cpp. This is the one. I'm going to execute dev cpp. Bam. There it is. Now, if you've already set it up, it should be in your program files x86, x64, or just in program files. If you're using Mac, you're going to need the Mac one, and you're going to need to know where it goes. Alright? Me, personally, I know Unreal really well at this point. If you look, I've already used some files, and they have files in save history. This is the Shucks files. These were the ones that were open in the other one. Okay? And those compiled. And I reopened it in Visual Studios. I just, you know, the thing took so long, I figured if I'm going to make an example, might as well start from scratch, you know, and from Visual Studios, showing it how it works, and then backtracking and giving you a reason why it works, instead of going through the long process, you know. So if you're having trouble with Visual Studios, this is a great alternative. In both places, it's really important to understand that code's going to work regardless. Code is code. Alright? I mean, I hate reiterating that. So I'm going to open these folders, alright? What you'll notice is that this is kind of set up like Windows 7 or Windows Vista or something. I still got Windows 10, I mean. For engine files, I'm going to go to Program Files, Epic, 4.23, Engine. For the pawn, I'm going to go to Source, Runtime, I might have to go to Engine or Class. I don't see Class, so Engine, oops. Runtime, Engine, Classes. Runtime, Engine, Classes. Game Framework is the one. It's the only one with G. That's it. That's where a lot of your files are that you're basing stuff off of. Save game, all kinds of stuff. Okay, player. The one we're working with is pawn right now. Character movement component, all kinds of stuff is in here. Pawn, movement component, pawn. Pawn is the one we want. That's a header file. Open. Bam. That's it. I have mine in a different font on purpose. You might not like the font. And that's all of it. And I'm not entirely sure it's still a read-only file. And just in case, I'm gonna mess with it just in case. So copyright, Epic's copyright stuff. I'm gonna write a little note. Personal edit. And I wrote to a read-only file with dev C++. Now, why would you want to do that? I do not know. But you have to understand that this is a blueprint type, blueprintable. Like, these codes matter, okay? This pawn H include this is important, all right? All of this is important. All this include stuff is important. So, but it should already be based on that. If you include it, you're gonna get errors. I'm pretty sure. But if I add that personal edit, that, and I can save that, is marked as read only. Do you want to mark it as read write? If no, the file will not be saved. Yes. Now, I have just rewrote pawn.h. You cannot do that in Visual Studio. I mean, you could if you tweak Visual Studios. So, what does that mean? Does it compile? This is an engine folder. That means if I broke it, nothing compiles. Okay? I have to fix it, basically. It's a read-write file now, instead of a read-only file. And I don't know if Unreal's engine is going to take it as a read-write file. And can I open it as a read-write file in Visual Studios now? Which would be awesome. And I want... See, doesn't compile. Alright. Alright. So, what we have to do is I'm going to back it up and give it the original purpose that it was given, because obviously there's some code that protects it. Okay, then I'll go back to Unreal and I'll compile. just for reference, nothing will work if I have just ruined the spawn. Compile. Alright. So you know that you can write. It's not very smart, but you can write to read-only files. You can copy from read-only files too, and you can change read-only files to read-write files. With dev, C++. Now, it's still a read-write file. If I'm not mistaken, I could go to Pawn, find Pawn, open it with Visual Studios, and it should be changed from a read-only file to a read-write file. Yeah, Pawn H is now a read-write file, just like Grub H. Pawn H is a read-write file, and I could write to Pawn H. This is ridiculous. The problem is if this is different, Pawn CPP is still a read-only file. Probably that's the problem. It could be other reasons. There's something that includes Pawn that protects Pawn from, like if it's off just a little bit, it doesn't want to be read. Now, this is the note. And, yeah, flog category log damage. So, anything I write to this file breaks it. So I'm just not going to write anything. Don't save. So, you don't want to do that. Just out of reference, you can break your engine, so keep it the way it is. But it's important to know where Pawn is, and I'll show you why. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open from the project, which means I have to go through my directories, use OSC, sorry, C is the C drive, users, silver, documents, Unreal projects, and then I find our program. What's our program? We called it Project 3, My Project 3, source, My Project 3, I made it public, Grub H. Alright, open. Now Grub H is a read-write file. Then I go to File, Open, Public, go back to My Project 3, Private, there's my CPP right there, Open. I can write both of these, in both of these. You'll get some problems, so if I go back to Grub H, Pawn H is already included. So this is already included. All this stuff right here, all the way down, is already included. So that is the benefit of using Unreal and writing code with Unreal, is that whatever class you create, it is literally based on that class. That sounds obvious, but for some people it's not so obvious. Grub generated H is also an important header file. So I'll open grub generated H2. You don't really want to mess with grub generated or anything generated. It's just something to look at, really. And if I look for that, I might not be able to find it, because what will happen is sometimes Visual Studios generates grub. It might be in source, no. But CS file targets are right there. My project build CS file is right there. Some people wonder if grub should have a .cs on it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've never had a problem with it not having a .cs on it. Now, that might be incorrect. It might need a .cs file. So, that was the intro to C++ and Unreal. You can use different C++ IDEs. How long have I been doing this video? Okay, good. Not too long. You can use different C++ IDEs. You can find almost all your project files. And if you're good enough, at some point you can write to... I don't know why you would want to, because you can just base another class off of it and base all your classes off of that next class. But you could, and you could put this in the engine. Here's the thing, is I could take grub H and put grub H in the engine. I don't want to do that, alright? But I could. And what happens if I put grub H in the engine, or I put anything in the engine, just for an example, if you put anything in your engine at all, like if I make it a blueprint, if I create a blueprint, no, because then I have to backtrack, create a C++ blueprint, then I create a blueprint, I can throw it in the engine. So if, for instance, I go to content folder, add new blueprint class, everybody should know this at this point if you're getting into this. I mean, not everybody, but some people who like to play around with the engine. If I make a blueprint and it's like, I want this blueprint to be everywhere, and default, I'm just gonna call this default. What, like I throw it into world and it does everything for it. It's like a universal blueprint. Why wouldn't I want it in the engine? I would copy this, or save it at least, and then, you know, you can get in, if you know how to do C#, you can get in depth with it, and you can make it basically in the viewport. Yeah, the Unreal's based on C#. It's kind of funny, we write in C++, but Unreal is written in C#. I thought that was that blew my mind for a little bit. I mean, C++ is old, C is old, C#, I mean, I'm not sure which one's older, C++ or C#, but I'm pretty sure C++ was around when Unreal first came out. Which, early days, I mean, Unreal came out in the early days too. So I would, easy way to move this is I can just drag it to engine content. Did I call that default? Hold on, there might be a name in there called default, so I'm going to rename it default WITF with, I don't know, just give it a unique name, move it here, engine classes, my classes, public, grub. I wonder if I could. Nope. Okay. What if I copied it? Can I don't think I can copy it actually. Control C. Control V. Yeah, no, you can't copy C++ classes anyways. You can in a folder, and that might break it, because what if these are all in directories, so that's kind of important. So if I close this and then open a different library, any of these that I have already made, let's say Basic Code 3, this one's broken, but I'm going to open it anyways. If I open any of these, keep in mind pawn's still open in my thing, it's not been changed. Yeah, and my engine C++ classes are right here already open. I go to engine content, now I look for default. W? Default width, that's the freaking pawn I just made. Alright, and then I basically can always duplicate it, right? Or, hold on, let me delete this. I can Control C, go into content folder, and Control V, and just have it all the time. Just have it everywhere I go without migrating. And that's interesting. So, like, basically, I have, now, you know, you gotta be careful with this stuff, right? Because you don't want to send somebody your engine if your engine is different. Okay? But, for instance, if I go to Unreal, sorry, what I have done already is if I go to my library, I have a vault. Now, I have a vault. Everybody has a vault, but I have a second vault. And it's got everything I want out of everything. So, like, there are things that are deleted in that vault that have nothing that I don't want in it. Things that I don't want in it. I know I'd never put in the game. I keep it out of my vault, and I called it my assets folder. My resist conformity assets folder is actually the one. And this one is a whole, I'm not going to open it, it's 100 gigs worth of stuff. Now, or less than 100 gigs, like it might be 80 gigs or whatever. I could put that in my engine as a folder, and every game, everything I make, I will no longer have to migrate. It'll be in every engine. Every engine I make will have all the stuff that I want to add to a project. If I throw all that content in my engine folder. Now, I wouldn't do that if I want to download a new engine anyways, because if you remember from the beginning, if I want to get to Unreal 4.25, I sometimes skip engines, because sometimes I'll be working on a project for a rather long time and I don't feel like updating to a new project yet. 4.25 I'm going to have to update to because it has things in it that are just nice. If you go to Epic Games, hold on, from program files, what you'll see is you got your 4.23, 4.24, and 4.25 folders. So all my engine content is based on this 4.23 folder. If I get the 4.25 folder, then it's not going to matter if I have all my stuff in the engine content of my 4.23 folder. Now, then again, what I have is this content folder. This content folder is what I'm going to have to migrate it all to, if I want to properly put it in there, not just copy and paste. I mean, I don't have to migrate. I could duplicate it all in the engine content folder and create a new... any folder I create in this content folder is perfectly fine for me to do. And just like new folder, just any folder I create in here, I can just be like exception slash not slash dash content. Dash personal. And once you do that, that means, like, let's say you created a material. You have materials. That one guy, he made like 20 gigs worth of materials, right? Varied material collection. Alright? That's a lot of materials to constantly just keep migrating to every freaking game project you make. Instead, you could put that in your engine folder. You have one copy of it in your engine folder, and it can go to any of your projects from your engine folder, because every project you have calls your engine folder. Now, keep in mind that this means that you're instancing, kind of. I would use the term, it's probably not correct. So you could put your whole engine or engine content in there. It would not be valid until you copied this folder, cut this folder, and pasted it in your content folder of the one that you, or not copied it. Copied it would be more mature. Copied the folder, threw it in your content folder when you were done with everything you were done, or you had in this folder, you know, places where you moved everything else, like all the things you're using in your content folder. So, sorry, this teaching stuff gets long. I know it's been 47 minutes. You could have left 25 minutes. We're going to be learning more C++. It's just some engine hints that took 15 minutes to do. It shouldn't have. And we're going to get into it. The C++ programming tutorial is next. If you've gotten your Visual Studio set up, you've gotten your Dev C++ set up, you've gotten your Unreal set up.